Let us start the class now. So in first I will review some of the details that I have discussed in the last video lectures. So on the Monday I have sent a couple of video lectures. So what I will be doing is I will not be discussing the details again. But however, if any of you have any doubts, I will quickly discuss them and then move on to the discussion of today's class of Bayesian classification. So now it is open for questions based on the Monday's video lecture. I am sharing the screen for notes. Meanwhile, get prepared to ask if you have any doubts. Okay, so before we start the discussion, in the last class, Friday's class, I hope, some student has asked regarding this application of UV rule here. So may I know who is that? So is the student here?
Yes, sir.
Please respond quickly if you are there.
Yeah.
Hope I am audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think I'm not sure whether the student is there or not. Okay, if this like you can convey if any of your friends knows. See, this is more than looking at a UV rule. You should look this as a partial derivative. Okay, so here when we are trying to do the say x transpose mx, we want to do partial derivative like derivative with respect to x, dou f by dou x. Okay, so UV rule I have given because that you know as a like one of the easy to understand concepts. But however, it's more than a UV rule. So his concern is if we consider this as U and this as V, it has to be constant when we do here or here. Oh, so that's not is the completely correct way of looking at. Just for understanding, I have said once you do with this, once you do with this. But the correct way of understanding or interpreting it is partial derivative. So you are finding there are two variables, okay, of x, for example. Then so x transpose, assume that it is a function of x. X is also a function of x. Okay, so two variables which are functions of x. So once we differentiate with respect to this, once we differentiate with respect to this, keeping rest constant while we do differentiation with respect to one variable. Okay. So that's what is the way you can interpret. Then there is no confusion of okay keeping the same constant in both cases. Hope the student who has asked if he is there, it is clear to him. Okay. So if you have any questions, please ask me in the like video lectures that I have sent on Monday. Yeah, I will give you only a few seconds or couple 1 minute time, okay, to ask. I will be just scrolling through the slides. Also, I defined the expectations. Okay, so based on the probability density functions or probability mass functions, and using the expectations, we have also applied them for joint mass function or joint density functions. Okay, we have discussed about uncorrelated random variables and independent random variables. So if you have a fish classification problem, okay, for a single fish, if you are measuring two features, so length and width, length and lightness, they can be uncorrelated features or correlated features. Okay, but if you are measuring, say for completely if you are conducting two different experiments, they can be completely independent. Okay, so correlated or uncorrelated, there is a doubt which like the event itself may not decide. And when we do the exercise, we can understand that they are uncorrelated or we can make them uncorrelated. Okay, so but the dependence or independence directly can be driven by the way we structure the events itself. Okay, so we discuss them. For the uncorrelated random variables, the covariance is 0. Okay, and we have also seen vector of random variables and their expectations. Covariance matrix we have defined. Okay, and we have used in 2 dimensions covariance matrix. We have seen explicitly definition of correlation coefficient. Okay, and its range. We then discussed about some specific random variable distribution PDF. that is Gaussian distribution. We discussed its univariate and multivariate formulas or the cases. Then in multivariate case, if we consider them as independent, okay, the features are all independent, then we can consider them as the diagonal covariance matrix, and that simplifies to a simpler form. Okay, but however, the general expression also we have given. And I said, this is very important, and this exponent is referred to as the Mahalanobis distance, square of the Mahalanobis distance. This is other than the Euclidean distance, this is also a distance measure, measuring the distance between a sample and the mean value of or the centroid of the samples. Okay, we take, but however, it measures the like distance considering the variances. Okay, so whereas Euclidean distance doesn't have this term, right? So this we have discussed, and we have also seen a small example, and I have given you some samples and asked you to find the mean and covariances. Okay, so up to this we have discussed mean and covariance vectors. So if anybody has any questions or doubts, you please ask me now. Otherwise, I will start discussing. I will be posing a couple of problems first to you. If you have just to check whether you have understood or not, then I will start discussing. Yeah, meanwhile, any questions? Please ask if you have any questions, okay? You should not take this much time if you have seen the video lectures. And I'm surprised if you don't have any questions. Okay, so I will discuss little more on the Gaussian distribution. Okay, so two-dimensional Gaussian distribution. See, as I said, it's a multivariate Gaussian distribution. Can be, say, if you have a vector x, which is x1, x2, if I measure two features. Okay, so as I said, if it is multivariate Gaussian distribution, so its PDF can also be sketched in two variables, x1, x2. Okay, so the value of p of x1, x1 comma x2 is a value only, but there are two independent variables with which this value of the PDF is varied. And see, I may have the cases, different cases, okay, for these random variables. That means, see, assume that I have measured in some experiment, okay, two features, length and width, okay, or length and lightness, two features I have measured. After measuring them, what I have seen is, say, I have measured for sample 1, sample 2, okay, and so on up to sample 100. I measured for 100 samples. Using these 100 samples, I have computed a covariance matrix. Okay, so I computed some covariance matrix. Assume that I have used a simple expression of finding covariance matrices. Okay, first summation xk is the kth sample, or sk I will write. Okay, sk is the kth sample, minus mu into sk minus mu transpose. This is the covariance matrix. This is how I computed the covariance matrix. So I have not considered here the probabilities. Okay, just a sample covariance I have computed. Okay. So what is the difference between sample covariance and covariance matrix or expectation of, say, through computing the covariance through expectation? Can one of you tell? Yeah, I have asked a question. Hope you got the question. So what is the difference between applying this, okay, covariance is equal to expectation of this, okay, versus, okay, finding out using this sample? This is referred to as sample covariance, as I said. Can one of you tell the difference? This is covariance.
Sir,
Yeah, please tell.
sir, in case 2, we need to know the probability distribution
Right, very
for
good.
calculation.
So correct. So if I want to use this, I have to use the probabilities as well. So this is a statistical covariance. Okay, this is a sample covariance. Based on probability density function. Okay, in fact, if it is a vector, joint probability density function I have to use. Okay, to do this. But if I don't know that, I can also find sample covariance, and it will be you mean like close to this covariance in some cases, some particular cases. We will see later. In which cases they will be same. But in general, if I don't have this, I can find out this. Okay, assume that I have found this, and I said, okay, I also know that these x have come from Gaussian distribution. That means I say that x belongs to a Gaussian distribution with some mu and some covariance matrix. Okay, it's given. In that case, my question now is, see how will be the shape of P of x1 comma x2. I just want to sketch it. Okay, if I want to sketch it, how will it look like? That is the first question. Yeah, I wish to get some answer. Even some guesses are fine. So if you don't answer this, I will simplify the question. Okay, so assume that I have only one feature now. Okay, only x1. And I say that the feature x1 alone, belongs to a Gaussian distribution with mu and sigma square. Then how does it look like? In such case, how does it look like? Yeah, I need answer for this now quickly.
Bell curve.
It will be? Yeah, feel free to answer quickly.
Bell curve, sir.
Yeah, bell curve. So why are you hesitating to answer this? I hope everybody in the class should know this. You people know or doesn't know? Fine. Okay, it's not a direct class where I can see your faces and know whether you know or doesn't know. At least to some extent. This class is a double blind class. You can't see me, I can't see you. Okay, so you can only see the intermediate stuff. Okay, fine. So this is, what is this? This is the mean, and this is the, somewhere is the variance. Okay, this is the variance, or this is the standard deviation. Okay, so this is the standard deviation. Okay, so this is for one dimensional Gaussian x1. P of x1 alone, if I sketch, this is what it is. Okay, now the question is, how will be two-dimensional Gaussian distribution for a given mu and sigma? Yeah, I need some answer again. Yeah, request those who know to quickly answer. Okay, so that it will help the whole class.
That will be a three-dimensional plot.
It will be a
three-dimensional plot. So
okay, but actually we have only two features, right? X1, X2. We don't have 3 dimensions here. 2 dimensions only, but it may be in third dimension. So P of x1, x2 may be in third dimension. Fine, that I agree. But how will it be? What will be its shape? That's my question. In what shape it may be?
so it's sort of like a hill.
It's sort of a?
It's like a hill, sir.
It is like a?
Hill.
Hill, very good. It looks like a hill, or it looks like even a bell. Okay, so it is bell curve you have said, but it is not a curve, but it is a bell itself. Okay, so it may look like, see, for example, if x1 feature, x2 feature has same variance across the feature 1 and feature 2, and the covariance is 0, that is exactly as in case 1, then what will happen? Okay, it looks like a regular bell curve. You people are able to imagine or not? Huh?
Yes, sir.
So now the question is, I want to sketch it. How do you think I will sketch it? I can't sketch. I am not very familiar sketching three-dimensional stuff. But still I want to describe it. Okay, or visualize it somehow.
Contours.
Contour.
Contours.
Very good. Contour of what I should sketch. So there is a, I hope all people are able to get it. So get the information. I'm not very sure whether, so it looks like a bell curve. Okay, so it looks like a, it looks like a bell curve like this. Okay, it's a hill, it's like a hill also. As you can think, it will be like having a very high height at the middle, and it will be like tapering out. Okay, in all directions. Okay, in 2 dimensions. Okay, in x1, x2 plane, it will be tapering out like that. Fine. So now the question is, if I want to sketch it, how do I sketch it? Somebody has said you to take the, we can take the contours. Which contours do you suggest me to take? Say it is like, in fact, it looks like a bell. So assume that for this case 1 I am sketching. Okay. So let me put for sketch 1. Okay, for okay, I sketch like this for case 1, that is sigma 1. So I will write probably case 1 here. What do you think is this? Why I have sketched? What do you think I have sketched here?
Top view. Top view.
What is that? Contour, fine. Contour of what?
Contour of some constant value of p of x1, x2.
Contour of constant, contour having constant value of p of x1, x2. Correct? That's what you are saying, correct?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So this is called, what is it called? If I sketch a contour of points having equal value of some probability density or whatever. Okay, what do we call? This contour can be called as locus of points. Okay, locus of points. Okay, locus or contour of points having you might have heard the name locus, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it is in fact the locus of points having the equal probability density function. What I have sketched here is locus of points having the equal probability density function or probability mass function. Okay. So this is, say, I can consider this as a 1 sigma contour or 2 sigma contour. See here, this can be considered sigma apart, right? So you can see here, this is 1 sigma apart. Okay. Same thing if I sketch it here. Okay, this is, you can see in 1 dimension I am sketching. Okay, this is 1 sigma apart, mu plus sigma. This one. Okay, sorry, mu minus sigma this side, right? Mu minus sigma, or this side mu plus sigma. Okay, and this is mu plus 2 sigma. So what I'm sketching here is, okay, here I am sketching, say, 1 sigma apart or 2 sigma apart and so on. So this is locus of points having, this is how we visualize a 2-dimensional Gaussian distributions. Okay. Now for case 2, how will it look like? What do you think? For case 2, how will it look like? I want to do the same sketch for case 2. I will need the help of some of you. Yeah. For case 2. How should I sketch? So this is x1 and this is x2. In which direction the variance is high?
X2, sir.
X2. So what? So how does it reflect here in this plot? in this contour plot. So there is
Ellipse,
an
sir.
ellipse, but it will be bulging towards in the x2 direction. Okay, so it's a bell only, but it's not a symmetric bell. Okay, it will be bulging in x2 direction. So how will it look like?
Ellipse,
Locus
sir.
will look like an ellipse.
Very good. It looks like an ellipse. Okay, I just roughly sketched. Okay, so it looks like an ellipse. So it also crosses here at 4. So right. So it looks like a symmetric ellipse, but it is symmetric only in x1 direction and x2 direction, not between x1 and x2 directions. Okay. So this is again what? A locus of points. Points having same PDF or PMF. Okay. So now the next question. Third case, how do you think it looks like? I somehow want to plot here. Yeah. How do you think in third case it looks like? This is x1. Okay, this is x2. And the covariance is given like this. See, why I'm discussing, why I have given covariance, I have not given mean value at all. But what mean value I'm assuming in these plots? What mean value am I assuming in these plots for sketching all these things?
0, 0.
Yeah, very good. So mean value I'm assuming is 0, 0. Okay, and covariances are different. Why I'm discussing covariance to sketch the contour of or the shape of the PDF? Why not mainly the mean value? Yeah, I need an answer. Why I'm considering the covariance matrix? Why don't I consider any other thing to sketch all these things?
Shape is defined only by covariance, sir.
Shape is determined only by covariance. Okay, fine, very good, correct. But give me a little more clarity, like details or justification.
Change in mean just shift the curve, sir. Just shift the curve.
Change
Shape is determined by only covariance and variance, sir. That's why.
Right, I agree. So change in mean only shifts the location of the PDF. Okay, but the shape is determined by covariance. I fully agree with that. But still, I need little more detailed wording or say how is it determined by covariance? I want you to verbally describe.
How much it is spread out, we can come to
Right, very good. How much it is spread out from the mean location in all directions will be given by covariance matrix. Okay, to covariance matrix describes, okay, in x1 direction how much spread, x2 direction how much spread, okay, and also x1, x2, what is the relation between the features x1, x2, okay, are they positively correlated or negatively correlated? All that information is there in covariance matrix. Okay, now very good. So now I want this. How should I sketch this now?
It will move towards x1.
It will be towards in which degrees?
Right side, sir.
Towards right. Which how many degrees?
45.
Yeah.
Am I sketching correctly? It will be like this. Okay.
Yes,
so it will be 45 degrees. Okay, because there is a correlation. There will be both. When one is high, other also will tend to be high. Okay. So these are approximate plots. You can see the actual plots later. So in simulations, what I would recommend you to is check this. Okay, so I have plotted just approximately. So you can simulate the data like covariance with this mean and this covariance. See, with this mean and this covariance, this covariance, this covariance, you can generate 3 Gaussian distributions yourself. Okay, you can generate 2-dimensional Gaussian samples. Okay, generate the random variables, large number of random variables. Okay, and then you sketch the PDF of random variables. How to get the PDF of random variables when I have the random variables or random vectors with me? Assume that I have the random variables with me. I want the PDF to be sketched. Okay, or obtained. What should I do? what is the step to take from samples to PDFs? Yeah, I need answers.
Histogram, sir.
Yeah, very good. Oh, we need to take an histogram. Okay, similarly in 2 dimensions also, if I want to sketch the PDF, again same, I need to take 2-dimensional histogram. X1, X2, I will bin in X1, X2, or space. Okay, 2-dimensional bins I will make. Okay, I will count the number of samples in that each bin, and that I will give me 2-dimensional histogram. I will sketch it. Okay, that's how I get the 2-dimensional PDF plot. Okay, so I'm not very sure you have an inbuilt command to do that. If you have, it is very good. So you can use it just for experimentation. Otherwise, you are like encouraged to explore that. Okay, and then you can see this shapes will they occur and so on. Of course, you can directly plot the contours as well. Okay, so for plotting the contours directly, what do you think I should do? So if I don't want to do all that exercise, I just want to plot the contours. Can anybody has any suggestion? It's a very you should think a little carefully. So I know that it is Gaussian distributed with say two features, right? So 2 pi into sigma power half e power minus half x minus mu. What should I write here? I am trying to write multivariate Gaussian distribution. So x minus mu. Can one of you help me to quickly complete this?
X minus mu
Transpose into sigma m. You should tell before I write. Okay, then it gives value. So this is what is the 2-dimensional Gaussian distribution. In that I have defined something. See, shape of this is guided by whom? P of x1, x2. The shape of this is guided by whom? Or if you want to find the points where the equal probability density functions are there, which is the main term that contributes? Which is the main term that contributes? No answer. See, if I am varying samples x1, x, okay, x are samples. Okay, I am varying the samples. I want to see for all the samples, okay, the locus of points having the same probability density function. Okay, so I vary the values of say features. So I want to see where the probability density function P of x1, x2 is constant. Okay, so which is the term I should look at mainly?
The Mahalanobis distance.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Okay, just look at the locus of points having equal Mahalanobis distance. Okay, so even with this, you can say you can substitute this and then find the locus of points having the same Mahalanobis distance. Okay, if you are able to do this for directly, you can get the contours. Okay, this gives the contour. Okay, so you can write the contours of having r square Mahalanobis distance. Okay, if you want actually 2r square Mahalanobis distance, 3r square and so on, you will get different contours. Okay, and that they will describe very well even in 2 dimensions how is the shape of the 2-dimensional or the 2-dimensional probability mass function or density function. Okay, especially in the Gaussian case. So is this discussion clear? Okay, so if you have any questions, please ask me. Otherwise, I will move on to the discussion on the next topic. Okay. See, it's a big class. Don't hesitate to ask. So I also expect answers quickly because I don't want to waste many of the students' time. Okay, at the same time, my time as well. Okay, and however, I do expect that quick answers will come because at least in the class somebody at least 50% of you are alert. So I hope. Okay. So now let us discuss on the Bayesian classification. See, before we move on to Bayesian classification, let us first discuss about the classification. Okay, so say we consider the same problem of say first let us consider about in general what is classification. See, assume that I have some again the same problem of classifying fishes. Just to make the discussions quick and simple, I am just bringing that. Okay, I just want to I have 100 samples. Okay, of class 1. So class 1, I have 100 samples, or even 1000 samples. It's okay, 100 samples will start. Okay, of fishes or whatever. So you can consider this as Solomon fishes. Okay, and class 2, again we have 100 samples. Sea bass fishes. Okay, so leave about any of the like discussion on machine learning and so on. Just leave everything like from the domain perspective. Answer from the common sense. Okay, so now the question is, I have some 20 samples, 20 test samples. What I want to do is I want to put into either of these categories. Okay. Okay. So now, how should we do it? That's the question. Can anybody suggest me on how should I approach this problem?
So you could compare one test sample with a few of the samples from each category.
Class. Very good. So I will give you little more details since you have brought the point. Okay. So each sample is available in a form of an image. Okay. So this is 28 cross 28 or some. Okay. So some I will put as a easy number. Okay. So some 30 cross 30 images. Okay. Each are 30 cross 30 images. Okay. Now these are also 30 cross 30 images. Now, so you said compare. Can you please expand, give a little more clarity on that? How do I compare? So these are all the training samples I have. Okay, so this is class 2 samples. Okay, and I have now test samples. Comparison means what?
Simply find the measure of dissimilarity or similarity. We can use cross correlation.
Find the measure of similarity or dissimilarity between the trained samples and the test samples. These can be considered as the training samples. Okay, fine. I want to find out the say I will write X test minus X say train, right? So test X train. Okay, so X test minus X train I want to do. So I can do dissimilarity first. Okay, so this is the distance between X test and the and X train. I assume that I have done it. Okay, for all the training samples. For all the training samples, I have done it. So K varying from 1 to 100. Okay, again, so 101 to 200. I have done it. Then what should I do? With the given test sample, ith test sample. Please tell the next step then. What should I do next? I have done this.
Now we have to measure which is the like from 1 to 100 we'll have one set of values. We'll have to either use some averaging metric, and for 101 to 200 use the same averaging metric. Compare those two results. If the first one is highly dissimilar, then whichever is less dissimilar is the one you'll have to classify under.
See, even I need even simpler technique. Averaging and all also I don't want to do at the beginning. I need very simple technique. So I just want to tell that say if after comparison I should directly get the class label.
Direct, like we can just see which is the minimum or maximum among this
Okay.
200.
So the like minimum or maximum you said. So this is the 8th sample. Assume that, and these are all kth samples. Okay. So and this is now k star. Okay. So the minimum sample having the minimum Euclidean distance. Okay. So I found, so for Euclidean distance, should I look for minimum or maximum?
Minimum.
Yeah. So highly similar sample imply minimum Euclidean distance. Okay, minimum D. So minimum D. So I located K star. Then what should I do? I got the say sample number is K star, that is 30th sample. Then what should I do? Yeah, tell me quickly. I got the 30th sample as the,
If K stars from C1, then classify it as in the
right.
C1. And
so then what you do is X test, okay, is assigned. You will get a label of, okay, label of K star sample. Correct? Assigned a label of K star sample. Is this clear? Is this discussion clear? This method is referred to as nearest neighbor classifier.
Sir, can you explain the last part of it, sir?
Yeah. So once you get the nearest sample, okay, you look at the label of the nearest sample and assign that to ith sample. Okay, you look at the nearest sample and assign that label to ith sample or the corresponding test sample. See, when I find now this, let it be, this is jth sample. Okay, let this be jth sample. Okay, now this is say K star for jth sample. Okay, then I will be assigning the label of this sample to this. And this sample is assigned to this because this is the nearest sample for this and this is the nearest sample for this. Okay. Also, that is what is referred to as K nearest neighbor or nearest neighbor classifier. Okay, simply nearest neighbor classifier or nearest neighbor classifier. What it does is you pick it as sample. Okay, look at the closest or nearest sample in the training set. The label of the training nearest sample in the training set is assigned to test sample. Is this process clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So see, now I want to use similar. I will change a few things now. Okay, just to make our discussion a little more broad. Okay, I have now C1, C2. Okay, up to C10. Okay, 10 class samples. Each I have 100 samples. Okay, samples. Now I have test samples. Again here I have actually some 100 test samples. Okay, 100 test samples I have. Okay, now this is case 2, whatever I'm discussing now. Now what I want to do is I don't want to use like Euclidean distance as the metric. Okay, I want to use normalized cross correlation as the metric. Okay, I want to use this. Okay, and then I want to apply nearest neighbor classifier again. Okay, but I want to use different metric, but still I want to apply nearest neighbor classifier. Yeah, I request one of you to guide me on how should I proceed. Hello? So are the students there in the class or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So I need some of you to tell what should I do now.
So we do the same thing, sir. We calculate the difference first and then
Calculate the
like the new metric, whichever metric we're taking now.
Be clear, okay? See, even this conveying things has to be very clear and very quick, crisp. So find what? Find between what and what. See, I also explained like that only before. Just do the distance and then assign the label. So did I tell like that before? Yeah. This is the feedback to all students. Okay, you should be attentive and able to answer quickly in the class to make the class effective or move quickly. So that we can discuss very elegant things in the class later. Okay, so if we are struck up with the small things where you are also clear, but you can't express, okay, or where somebody is still in doubtful, etc., could not get clarified, okay, then I think we will not proceed much. Yeah, please tell now.
XTS is transpose into XTR by modulus of XTS into modulus of XTR, sir.
Okay, so you find what essentially you need to find is, you need to find the normalized cross correlation, okay, with respect to the all what? So take it as sample, XTR you take, and you find the normalized cross correlation with XTR to all the training samples. Sorry, TS you take with all the training samples. Okay, all training samples you find with the ith test sample. Okay, and then you find out the minimum. Now minimum or maximum?
Maximum, sir.
Yeah, maximum training sample that has the highest cross like normalized cross correlation. K star in mathematical terms people write as, okay, argmax. Okay, so the notation wise people write like this, argmax, okay, NCC XTS comma XKTR. Okay, so this K is among all K, whichever has the maximum cross correlation is referred to this. Okay, that argument, the argument means corresponding sample will be K star. Okay, so then you assign, so XTRI is assigned a label of X T or K star. Okay, is this clear? Is this clear or any doubts here?
Clear, sir.
Yeah, fine, good. So, but the question here is, these are all two-dimensional matrices. How do I find distance? Huh? These are all two-dimensional matrices, right? How do I find the distances? Yeah, any BTech student should answer. See, this is a matrix and this is a matrix. Okay, so how do I find the distance? How do I find normalized cross correlation? Is telling transpose X transpose Y form. What do we do? Any BTech students or other than MTech students should answer, because MTech students have had this in the lab. Yeah, no answer. Okay, so BTech students, you people know the answer and don't tell, or you don't know the answer? So I know very little, like a few names of the students. Pranjal, you are there in the class?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's happening? You know the answer and...
No, sir, I don't know the answer.
Okay, very good. Okay, that's fine. So then what about, say, Sudarshan, okay, and then Umeshwar, Roshini, who else are there? BTech students. So do you people know the answer or doesn't know the answer?
Not a clear idea, sir. For matrices,
Okay.
for vectors, it's X transpose X by norm of those.
Correct.
Matrix, I think probably it should be again X transpose X, probably by determinant. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, any other students? So I have not taught you a physical class, so that's why I didn't know your names and faces well. Yeah, I can't call you by name much, but you should proactively come and then discuss. Then I think I will start knowing your names and other things. Yeah, any other students? Yes. Or other computer science students? So here are the matrices with which I want to find the distance. See, ideally what we can do, so if there are matrices, okay, one way is what essentially we want to do, a matrix here and a same matrix here. Okay, of same dimensions, right? 30 cross 30. Okay, anyway, what we want to do, element by element difference, I can do. This is a difference matrix. Okay, this is a difference matrix of same dimension. Okay, and if I consider this as matrix 1, okay, this is matrix 2, this is x1 minus x2. Okay, and mean square error means what? Okay, each element, okay, I will square them, x1 minus x2, okay, square them, and then I will take summation over I and j, double summation, because these are all matrices. Okay, this is the operation to find out the mean square error, Euclidean distance. This can be equivalently done by what? I will arrange them as vectors. See all first row here. Okay, and then second row here. Okay, third row here. Okay, and so on. I will arrange them row after the row. This is called actually a roster, or arranging them in row order. Okay, each row I will take and arrange them as a one vector. And this now, if it is say d cross d before, now this is d square cross 1 vector. If this is 30 cross 30, which I have told before, this is 900 cross 1 vector. And I will do the same operation for this as well, right? Then I will have another vector here. This is also d square cross 1. Okay, and then what I do? I will take the, once I get the vectors, what I can do? This is x1 in vector form. This is x2 in vector form. Okay, so I can take now whatever operations I know, Euclidean distance I can take. Okay, or even the normalized cross correlation I can take. Okay, or any other matrix that I have discussed I can use here. Is there any difference now between doing this and this? So assume that now I have got this. This is the difference vector. Okay, this is x1 minus x2 vector. Is there any difference between what I have done above and what I have done here? Yes or no? Again, this also I will find again distance means, okay, distance, this is also distance only. Okay, here distance means, okay, this vector, x1 vector minus x2 vector, okay, whole square. In fact, 2 is not required. For k equal to 1 to n square now, d square, because it has d square elements.
The difference is just procedural. The final result will be the same.
Yeah, final result will be same. Okay, so you can do this. So for all the practical purposes, whatever are the matrix we have defined, we will apply by vectorizing the matrices. Okay, you got the point? So anything that I discuss on the 2 dimensions or even in 3 dimensions, I will apply the same things when after vectorizing them. Okay, so normalized cross correlation as such directly you can't interpret here as in terms of vectors. Okay, where the angle between them can be seen as the deviation in normalized cross correlation. Okay, but you can't see in matrix. But however, for practical purposes and for simplification and comparisons, okay, we will vectorize them and do the same operations. Okay. So is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine, good. So now this is referred to as I said, nearest neighbor classifier. Okay, so this is the simple classifier you can think of. Okay, so but what do you think is a problem with this kind of classifier? So fine, you have anyways very simple method for classification. Is there any problem with this classifier?
There might be very high variability even within the same class when we take images.
Okay, so there may be very high variability in the class. Fine, then what's the problem?
So, so when we are talking about the samples which are near to the classification boundary, it might be so that the sample is closer, the sea bass sample is closer to a salmon fish rather than a sea bass, rather than a corresponding sea bass fish. Because this might work very well if we have an infinite number of samples, but with a limited number of samples, that particular.
Yeah, okay, I got the point. Okay, any other issues? So what he's saying is, so if the samples are like this, okay, in one class I am locating the samples with two features, x1, x2. Okay, and other samples are like this. Okay, so I have one test sample now. Okay, this test sample is okay somewhere here. Okay, this test sample may be more closer to this sample. Okay, I will slightly locate. Yeah, here. Okay, this is the test sample. Assume that this test sample is closer to blue dot or black dot. This pink test sample. This is the test sample. Okay, so black dots are all class 1 samples. White dots are all actually class 2 samples. Sorry, blue dots are all class 2 samples. Okay, so this test sample, is it closer to class 1 or class 2? That is blue class or black class?
Blue class.
Blue class.
Yeah, nearest neighbor wise, if you see, it is closer to blue class. But still it may, it is more better, appropriate to put it in the black class, because more black class samples are around. Okay, that may be the problem. Okay, that is one problem. Are there any other issues other than these classification accuracy based problems?
So there's one more, like in case the image, like let's say if it's actually a sea bass image, but the orientation or like brightness of the image is changed, for example, then the correlation metric, whatever we are using, it might not accurately give a like proper measure of the same.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. So classification accuracy wise, there may be some problems that we will discuss when we discuss few more classifiers in place. But even methodologically, so is there any learning happening here? See, if I do testing for one class, say if I complete training, it means that if I do testing for one sample, so for the second sample, is it will it get simplified?
No,
or I do the same amount of work?
So there is no learning happening here.
Yeah, there is no learning as such. Every time you have to find the distance of each sample, each test sample with all the training samples. Okay, so that is in a sense it's a very like time-taking approach in testing. Okay, for every test sample you have to compare with all. Where is the learning happening? Okay, you are just assigning it based on the closest sample. So that is one very important difficulty or the limitation of the nearest neighbor classifier. Okay, so no decision boundary as such we are doing. Every time we are comparing and then trying to give the label that is close to the closest sample. So the complexity is say same for each of the test sample, or 100 test samples you have 100 into complexity of one test sample is what the total overall complexity for classification. Most of the times we need the classifier to take some time for training, but testing has to be very fast, and it has also to be possible in real time in some cases or in many cases. Okay, so that is not being facilitated by nearest neighbor classifier. Okay, so now let's move on, and in the next class let us discuss on the Bayesian classification. If you have any quick questions, you can ask. Okay, so if you have no questions, we can probably conclude the class now.
So one.
Keep, yeah, please ask.
So if we suppose we are classifying a particular sample into a particular class, so do we add that sample into that class for further test samples or not?
We don't add.
Okay.
Training set is training set and test set is test set. Usually we do that. Okay, but in case if you have limited samples and you are confident of your classification, then you can add. Also, fine. I hope the class are reasonably understood, but I request the students who have not taken any prior course on machine learning also to comment now and then whether are the things clear to you. Okay, and are you facing any difficulties and so on. Okay, so I'm concluding now. Bye then. So you may need to go for the next class. Let us see in the on Friday's class. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.